One of the most significant accomplishments of Gravity Falls is how it managed to basically conjure into being a new holiday, that being Summerween. Originally, this was simply just a justification for the show to have a Halloween episode in Gravity Falls, even though Gravity Falls, by the constraints the show sets up for itself at the beginning, only takes place over summer. And it fits with the gradual, quirky, bizarre nature of the town and its people that, they like Halloween so much that they celebrate it in summer, too. But this has intriguingly become an actual thing. It was somewhat celebrated by Gravity Falls fans who are just obsessed with their love for the show, but it was relatively contained until a few years ago, when it started exploding. And now there are a lot of people who celebrate a kind of Summerween without even realizing its connection to Gravity Falls. And yet there is still quite a bit of that Gravity Falls connection remaining. The term itself comes from Gravity Falls. That was not a thing before then. That is fully from the mind of Alex Hirsch and his wonderful writers of the show. And also the carving jack-o'-melons, the transformation of watermelons into jack-o'-lanterns, is something that is seen somewhat commonly at these Summerween celebrations. So there is still that Gravity Falls link, and I hope it continues to be preserved and recognized. It is rather strange seeing these reports on Summerween in the last few years from, say, Good Morning America or the Today Show, and seeing what was simply a bizarre event in a weird, quirky animated show become an actual event for people to celebrate. I have not seen a good video on this phenomenon done by someone who is actually knowledgeable about Gravity Falls. There are reports from places like Good Morning America, like I mentioned. There are videos of people talking about their Summerween hauls or decorations. And there are, of course, Gravity Falls reviews of the actual episode. But I didn't really find any in-depth videos on this burgeoning holiday from the perspective of a Gravity Falls aficionado, so I decided I would make one myself. Now, I will say that from a certain perspective, it's not that bizarre that people created this holiday in real life. Halloween is awesome. People love Halloween, and it's just growing bigger and bigger with every passing year. In fact, Halloween as we think of it is an American celebration. The traditions and customs of it are American. The iconography of it is American. Yes, Halloween has its roots in other places, specifically Scotland and Ireland, but Halloween as it is conceived of and celebrated is an American original. But that iconography has now spread into other countries. There are Halloween celebrations in, say, Germany, for instance, which was very much not the case even 15, 20 years ago. So Halloween is big. It's only getting bigger. People love decorating for Halloween, so if they have a chance to do it in the summertime, too, well, why not? And, of course, this is catnip for marketers, for retailers. Retailers are always, always, always looking for new ways to conjure celebrations or holidays into being. This is why Halloween spread so robustly around the world. This is why there are Black Friday celebrations and sales in Europe, despite Black Friday being tied to Thanksgiving and Europeans obviously not having Thanksgiving, which is pretty distinctly tied to American history. Sometimes these attempts are rather vulgar, such as Amazon basically trying to make Prime Day into a thing. Commercially it is, but no one is going to celebrate that. No one's going to go like, woohoo, it's Amazon Prime Day. And of course there are more banal examples like President's Day basically being nothing of a celebration in the United States, except for, say, mattress salespeople. So, obviously, if there is a way for department stores to sell Halloween merchandise in summer, they are going to take advantage of it. They're going to get full in on the Summerween idea. Still, it is rather strange to see a fictional holiday, something created by the necessities of a show set in the summertime, be manifest as an actual thing that appears to really be taking off and leaving behind, to an extent, its origins as an intriguing but silly celebration in Gravity Falls. Baudrillard, the French cultural theorist, talks about the idea of the hyperreal, which is a category that extends beyond the traditional boundary of real or not real. It is a category where those divisions blur or fall away entirely. Las Vegas is a great example of this. All these fictionalized, borderline impressionistic images of, say, New York or Paris being turned into actual places. Baudrillard famously says of Disneyland that the illusion of Disneyland is not that it's real, but that it's fake, and that there is a real outside of Disneyland. Where in reality, those categories are collapsing. The real, the actual lived experience of the world is so saturated by the fantastical and the fanciful, especially in this modern 21st century age where pop culture is bigger and bigger than ever. And those concerns about hyperreality tie into these older concerns about the idea of holidays as just being commercialization, just being ways to sell people things. the traditions that spread are the ones that allow more sales, that allow marketers, salespeople, businesses to make more money in many different places. This is not innately a bad thing. Christmas, for instance, is still very much celebrated in places that do not have a long tradition of celebrating Christmas religiously, like, say, Japan is the most notable example. Christmas is still very big there. You can say that's hollowed out and that's just blatant commercialism, but would I really want Japan not to have that? Them not to have those trees and presents and that whole Christmas extravaganza? No, I don't think so. Even something like wedding rings were not a thing in places like, say, China. Like 30, 40 years ago, they were brought in as a Western import and sold to the Chinese people for money reasons, because that's profitable. And yet, that's now a real part of the culture there. Is that a bad thing? No, I don't think necessarily so. And I kind of feel the same way about Summerween. I like that people are being creative. I like that they are bringing their Halloween celebrations into the summer because it's fun, because it's enjoyable. And I greatly appreciate that it has this tie from Gravity Falls, that it would not exist without Gravity Falls. Even if a lot of the people celebrating it now are not aware that's where it came from. The jack-o'-melons are genuinely cool. They're one of the things I distinctly remember about Gravity Falls, and I'm glad that they've been brought into the world of actual reality. And I like seeing summer twists or variations on traditional Halloween iconography. It's enjoyable, and it helps bring to mind one of my favorite episodes of Gravity Falls, one that I think really should be watched. And it should be brought into these Summerween celebrations. So that's ultimately where I feel I land on Summerween as this passionate Gravity Falls fan. It's great that it's taking off. I find it enjoyable despite the redolence of commercialism that is nonetheless attached to it. And I deeply hope it continues to grow. But I also hope that as it does, people continue to recognize that tie to Gravity Falls and celebrate that. And keep those Summerween celebrations grounded in where it all came from, in this wonderful episode and the delightfully, crazily, enchantingly creative minds of Alex Hirsch and all the wonderful people behind Gravity Falls. So thank you all for watching. If you liked what you saw today, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Donate to my Patreon if you can and you want to see more videos like this before anyone else. I certainly do not want to claim that such an emergence of this little holiday is unprecedented, and there certainly is a positive feedback loop between pop culture and what we think of when we think of the holidays, especially Christmas and Halloween, I'd say, going back hundreds of years. But the explosive growth of Summerween in a relatively short time from this nerd fan celebration into something relatively mainstream has fascinated me, and I'm really interested to see where it goes. So anyway, tune in soon for my next analysis. We'll be coming soon, I promise you that. Thank you all again. Adios, comrades. Keep watching Gravity Falls. It's great.